releasing the pain from a painful event. Allow yourself to be comfortable, either lying down or sitting up with your back, neck, and spine fully supported, knowing that you will not be interrupted for the next little while. Begin by gently closing your eyes. Now, begin to bring your attention to your breath, the direct experience of your breath, however it is, and however it changes. Allow yourself to softly focus your awareness on the breath that is arising right now, the in-breath and the out-breath, the rising and the falling. If you can, try to follow one full cycle of the breath from the beginning of the in-breath through its entirety to the beginning of the out-breath through its entirety. Allow yourself the time and the space to be in direct contact with the breath throughout one entire cycle. As you continue to pay attention to the breath, you may notice distractions that arise. Just allow yourself to notice those distractions, any bodily sensations or any thoughts that may arise, and if possible, allow yourself to become aware of the separateness of those bodily sensations. Notice how those sensations are separate, distinct from your thoughts, your ideas, and your words. Now, as you continue with this focused awareness, you may notice how often you lose contact with the breath. Maybe you become caught in a thought or an idea or a plan, or maybe some other bodily sensation has pulled your attention. When a distraction happens, simply notice that you have lost connection with the breath and gently bring your awareness back to the breath. We'll begin now with a deep breath in through the nose, inhaling slowly and deeply. Exhale through pursed lips until all the air has been released. When I ask you about what you feel, I don't want you to get into the feelings. I just want you to kind of notice the feelings from a distance. If you experience the feelings too much, it slows down the releasing process. Just kind of notice the feelings from a distance. And once I ask you about the color of the feeling, I don't even want you to think of the event or the image or the feeling again until we have finished processing. I'm going to ask you to lightly describe your painful memory. I don't want you to get deeply into the pain. In fact, feeling the pain is not necessary at all. Just be aware that the pain is there. Once the color of the pain has been identified, just focus on the color. Don't think of the event or the image or the feeling. Again, just the color. I'd like you to bring into mind a painful memory, and I would like you to attribute a color to that pain. And from now on, I don't want you to think of anything but that color. Forget everything else and just focus on that color. Where would you say that that color is mostly located in your body? I'd like you to visualize that color as being composed of tiny, tiny little color particles, just like dust or sand. Take a slow breath and just visualize breathing into those colored particles. And as you breathe out, just see those tiny color particles moving directly out of your body and going outside of you and away from you, and just see them go off into the atmosphere. So with every breath you take from now on, I'd like you to visualize or see in your mind's eye those tiny color particles moving outside of you with every breath you take. See yourself blowing those particles outside of you and away from you, and see them go off into the atmosphere. And as these color particles have a tendency to build up in every area of your body, we're going to concentrate on the different areas of the body. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to use your visualization, your imagination, and I'd like you to breathe into the middle of your brain and release those tiny particles out the middle of your forehead. And now breathe into the middle of your brain and release those tiny colored particles out from your eyes. And now breathe into your chest and release those tiny color particles down your arms and out the palms of your hands. And see your spine as being composed of guitar strings that go from the bottom of your spine to the top of your head. And breathe into those guitar strings. And as you breathe out, release the tension on the guitar strings and see those tiny, tiny colored particles radiate out in all directions. And now breathe into your abdomen and release those tiny colored particles out your navel area. And breathe into your abdomen and release those tiny colored particles down your legs and out the bottoms of your feet. And see a spot 6 inches below your feet and between your feet and breathe into that spot. And see those tiny colored particles drain down your body, go through that spot, and be absorbed into the earth. And now breathe into your diaphragm. Breathe into your diaphragm and release those tiny, tiny colored particles from your diaphragm. And now breathe into your heart. Breathe into the deep, deep depths of your heart and release those tiny, tiny colored particles from the depths of your heart. And now breathe into your throat. Breathe into your throat and release those tiny, tiny colored particles out from your throat. And now breathe into your mind. Breathe into the deep, deep depths of your mind and release those tiny, tiny colored particles from the depths of your mind. And now breathe into the right side of your brain. Breathe into the right side of your brain and release those tiny, tiny colored particles out the right side of your brain. And breathe into the left side of your brain. Breathe into the left side of your brain and release those tiny, tiny colored particles out the left side of your brain. And now breathe into the front of your brain. Breathe into the front of your brain and release those tiny, tiny colored particles out the front of your brain. And now breathe into the back of your brain. Breathe into the back of your brain and release those tiny, tiny colored particles out the back of your brain. And now breathe into the center of your brain. Breathe into the center of your brain and see those tiny, tiny colored particles releasing and radiating out in all directions from the center of your brain. And see them go outside of you and away from you. And see them go off into the atmosphere. And now breathe into the core of yourself. Breathe into what you think of as the core of yourself and release those tiny, tiny colored particles out the core of yourself. And imagine that you're about to yawn. And imagine that you are yawning a deep, wide yawn. And as you yawn, see those tiny color particles release from the core of yourself. And as you feel that yawn throughout your whole body, see those tiny color particles releasing from the core of yourself. And when you are ready, just gently bring yourself back into the room by counting up from 1 to 5. And when you reach the number 5, your eyes will gently open. You'll be awake and alert and feeling only peace. 1, 2, 3. Take a deep breath. 4 and 5.